acquaintances after 40 years, after 50 years. I've
Yeah.
actually gone live and put you all on the Facebook and YouTube streams. And
Yes.
this is a warm welcome to all of you all, especially Brother Finn and all the students from the first batch or so of
Yeah.
Regina Mundi, which is a school in Chicali. Excuse my ignorance if I get things wrong because I'm from two rivers across and I have very little knowledge of your school. I've been there on two or three occasions, but I know
Mm.
very little. So today we want to pay tribute to your school, brother, which is 50
Yes.
years young,
Yeah.
and to you and to all the brothers who have worked on it, and to all the students, many of whom are from the first batch here.
Yes.
I call this series brief encounters, but they end up being not very brief. So, net and power permitting, we should carry on for as long as you have the time to. I've heard your story, which is already recorded in parts by your students and things like that. But we'd always
Yeah.
like to hear it from you again.
Yeah.
So there is time and there's space for your reminiscences. So tell us, brother, your first memories 50 years back when you landed.
Well, when I landed in Goa, I came by bus from Bombay, having flown to Bombay from Calcutta, and my seat was broken and my back was injured. And when I arrived in Mopsa, which I called Mapuka at the time, I didn't know, I just went by the spelling, there was nobody there to meet me. So I had to make my way across. Eventually, I got a taxi. So I had to cross two rivers, one by ferry, one by bridge. And the driver didn't know anything on the airport road. There was nothing there where I was supposed to start to school. There was nothing. They were building the Navy quarters. And off the road near the Navy quarters to be, you had some construction going on. And the driver went in there and he spoke to the whoever was working there. And he got an address actually for Vade, which was down the road and turned in left. And I came to the Mascarenas home, with whom I was to stay. And there was nobody there except a 2-year-old girl, Lila, in the care of Anaya. So it did. I was a bit shaken because, first of all, I was absolutely enamored of the beauty of Goa uh, on the rivers coming over, so beautiful. And then coming in and having nobody there. And eventually, Mrs. Mascarenas came from town on a bicycle and welcomed me. Now, apparently, all the arrangements about founding the school had fallen through. And I was on the train when that letter arrived 15 days late in Calcutta in headquarters. And on the Saturday, just as I left, the Naxalites raided the school, St. Joseph's College, where I was principal, looking for the principal, but there was no principal. He was on his way to Goa.
That's in Darjeeling? No,
No, this is in Calcutta.
Calcutta.
Yeah, and at that time, they were attacking what they called missionary schools. And it's strange, I was between, our school was between the CPIM and the other. There were two factions in the CPI, and nothing ever happened when I was there. But as soon as I was out, it was raided. And that's how I came to Goa. And nothing had been done to prepare because, as I said, all arrangements had fallen through. Yeah. So,
Wow, what memories! And it's like so sharp as if it was yesterday.
oh
And
yeah,
of course,
very much so.
yeah, brother, I've listened to your interviews with the kids, the school children, and that's fascinating. That anyone who's interested in knowing more about the Chikali school, Regina Mundi should listen to all of those. It's in many parts, I think 8 or 9 parts, and there
Yeah,
is your story about the wall and the cloistered sisters, and so many
that's right.
fascinating stories.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I brother believe that these stories kind of tell us it's the history of the times also, because you're talking about so many things about Goa, its beauty, its buses and its problems, and you know Mascarenhas, Mr. Mascarenhas the historian, and Meera Mascarenhas his wife, and Dela, who's now done her PhD and all that. But you're completing your anniversary shortly, and also you're touching 90 very soon, right?
yeah. Yesterday I was 75 years with the brothers. Yesterday,
Wow. Wow.
so we had a very domesticated celebration with the seven brothers who are here, four of the five domestic staff, and the provincial and principal from Delhi. So it was very intimate, very beautiful, very personal.
So many of the others here are boys from the first or second batch of your school. You mind if I just ask them what were their first memories when they encountered your school?
Yeah,
Maybe,
well, I better explain one thing, that
please.
we didn't start the school on this ground because it was offered, and then as I said, everything fell through. So we started in a colony, small colony that was starting, called Meriton Gardens. Mira and Tony Mascarenhas, they had a
Which is
place
still
there.
there, yeah, which is still around, yeah.
It's there, yeah, but at that time there's no water, no electricity, no road, no accommodation. And I had an option of leaving, Goa and going back to Calcutta, or continuing. Now, I couldn't communicate with my principal, with my provincial, but I decided to stay on and called the school Regina Mundi. And there, Iqbal is the first pupil who came. Then we had Sunny and Ozzy and Mervyn. uh, Ozzy and Sunny were in class 7. We're 6 students and myself, and we call ourselves the Magnificent Seven.
It's amazing how you remember all their names and you know them so well. I heard you speaking about them fluently,
Oh,
even if you
Dil
were not there.
Mahe, Mara Dil Mahe, always in my heart.
And if you were less persistent, history would have been different. History of education in
Yeah.
Chicalim, in Vasco, in Mormugao Taluka, and in Goa. But we'll ask Iqbal and the rest. What were your first memories when you encountered the school? Because you all were seventh standard boys, so big enough to remember for sure. Iqbal, you'd like to go, please?
Yeah, okay. My first memories is when Brother Finn I went for admission. This was in I was in fifth standard in Saint Teresa, and somebody told my father that there's a good school coming up, and Saint Columbus was famous those days. So I walked into Brother Finn in the premises for the interview. Was the old Saint Teresa behind Lakshmi Petrol Pump, and Brother Finn was sitting alone there. No rush of parents, no students, nobody. Today's time, you go for admission 4 o'clock in the morning. The parents line up for admission there. The brother was alone. I was alone, not accompanied by anybody. And he asked me a few simple questions, and he gave me the admission. And believe me, I was not aware that I was the first student of the school till the time I passed out from SSC. And after SSC, I was a regular frequent visitor to the school to meet the Christian brothers, especially Brother Slattery, whom I was bonding very well. And after that, when I visited the school, and Brother Slattery was talking to one more Irish brother who had come there, and then Brother Slattery introduces me to this Irish brother, meet the first student of Regina Mundi, Iqbal. And this way I was quite surprised. So after that, I asked Brother Slattery, am I the first student, brother? Yeah, you are numero uno. So then, for me, it was very difficult to digest, Frederick. Here is a Christian missionary school, a Christian missionary coming all the way from Ireland to set up a school in Goa, and the first student that he admits is a Muslim. Brother Finn could have told me very well, sorry, Iqbal, I can't take you. It is a Christian missionary school. I have to admit the first student as a Christian. Please be on the line. Come back to me later on. But no, he admitted me. And for Brother Finn, that moment I feel, and I say hats off to Brother Finn, the religion of the first student was not at all important. What was important for Brother Finn is the education of the first student, irrespective of the religion that he belonged to. And that's what we are finding it very difficult when people ask me, "Are you really the first of Regina Mundi, a Christian missionary school?" I say, "Yes, I am." And this is what we imbibe the secular teachings in the school, Frederick. With Brother Finn's blessings, I'm heading a school in Vasco, Anjuman Himayat Islam High School. We have got 1,200 students there. And
Wow.
when I was told to take up the responsibility of the school as the chairman, I was hesitant. But then what inspired me is Brother Finn. As Brother Finn could start a school from scratch in Goa, from ground level, I have been given the responsibility of a full-fledged existing school. I will just take it ahead. And that's what I'm doing it for the last 15 days, for 15 years. And thanks to Brother Finn for inspiring me. And
Wow.
still we are following the secular teaching what Brother Finn has taught us in school. Like there was no compulsion on us for catechism or anything. Each one was free. The values of secularism, respect for each other, religion and human values and culture is still there, deep rooted in all the students of Regina Mundi, I feel. Nobody can take it away from us. This is what I have to say in short. I'll add up with later on other one. Let other speakers also speak. Thank you.
Dr. Sunny.
Yeah. Once again, good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Yeah. So I didn't have the luxury what Iqbal had, that of going through an interview, because I was in, I think, grade 6 at that point of time, and grade 7, 6 to 7 is the time. We have just entered our teens, and we were in St. Teresa's, all of us. I think the batch of 6, I think majority were from St. Teresa's. The people who joined as this magnificent 6 or 7, as Brother Finn says. So we were looking forward to be in the co-ed school. For me, it was not a good feeling to go to this school, this new school. Coming up somewhere in Chicalim, and I used to live in Wade, and the house that we stayed used to belong to Masculine. So I don't know how, because I didn't have an interview, brother. To the best of my knowledge, my father tells me that my father was a very close friend of Brother Finn. So I think they had a pact, and two guys, me and my younger brother, said, "You have no choice. There's a new boys only school coming up, and then you guys start the school." I said, "New school?" Because we were all tuned to, we were in St. Teresa's, and 6 years in St. Teresa's, 7th, that's the transition. It's the middle school, and teenage, and all those things. We were looking forward to being with the girls, to say so. And then all of a sudden, this gentleman comes from Calcutta, starts his school, and we are forced to join this school. No issues. And I still remember the Brother Finn, himself driving the Carrera. You had this Portuguese Carrera, and half the time that was broken down, and you had the kids pushing the Carrera, because Brother Finn used to drive, and the driver used to push along with the kids, And you can imagine the rainy June days when we used to get that. So I used to ask my father, why did you shift us from an established school like St. Teresa's and put us in this school? My father was into politics, so he says, "I like that man. Do you know what? The other day I saw him in that moped. Brother Finn had a moped at that time, the one which wouldn't take the slope up. When you go to Panjim, you had that the slope. I think going to Pilar, the slope. So I saw Brother Finn that day, and he was pedaling it up because the moped wouldn't take it up. So this man is very persistent, and I want you guys to study with this man, because his heart and his soul is where his mind is. So this person will go far." And that was it. And one more point is, you mentioned Meriton Gardens. So we started school there, and Brother Finn was everything, starting from principal to our class teacher, to our school bus driver, to probably even the cook there, because we had our classroom in his dining. We had the luxury of having the principal's dining room as our classroom, So our classroom was the dining room. The dining table was our class. So we were 6 of us, and Brother Finn used to sit at the head of the table, and we were 6 of us at the sides of the dining table. And he used to pride himself. So the kitchen being next door, we used to get ideas, because as the lunch was getting prepared, the smell used to waft into the room. So he says, "Guys, be careful. You should know this is the toughest man this side of the Zuari," he used to say. "So you guys don't be up to any mischief, because you have the toughest guy this side of the Zuari as your principal. So you be careful." And that's how it is. So we have got lovely memories. Meriton Gardens, I'm sure Ozzy remembers. We used to play all sorts of games. We didn't have a formal ground there, so we used to improvise in between the construction sites to play our games, and things like that. So I think Ozzy can take up from here his I have a lot of memories, but I don't. I'll come back, as Iqbal said. We come back with so many things. Now, mention of Miraton Gardens, reminds me of so many things. Anyway, Ozzy, I think you can take it up from here.
Yeah, Frederick, do you want me to?
Yeah,
Do you
please,
want
Ozzy,
me or
please,
you want
please.
Mervyn?
Yeah, we are going in order only in that sense. It's going anti-clockwise, so it's fine.
Okay. So yeah, I don't. Going back now 50 years, I really don't remember having an interview with Brother Finn, but I suspect he would have interviewed my father and my mother, and he was
Those things didn't happen in
charming
those
as
days.
he is, Brother Finn.
I don't think those things happened in those days.
Oh,
Parent interviews.
I'm
Anyway, I'm just
my,
joking.
my father actually was in the education field after he did his master's in Bombay, and he taught in St. Xavier's College for a while. So, and my mother also did a teaching degree. So I'm pretty sure they would have heard about the Irish Christian Brothers and the high standard of education that they imparted to all their students and the network of schools around India. So I'm sure they had an impression about the Christian Brothers. And when Brother Finn probably approached them and said he was starting a school, I'm sure they took up the offer without batting an eyelid. From my side, I don't remember having an interview, but I suspect that was the reason. Education was at the forefront when they decided to take me and my younger brother out of St. Teresa's. For me, it was actually a disruption for the third time because the first 3 years I was in Bombay in St. Xavier's School. The next 3 years were at St. Teresa's, and then 7, 8, 9, the next 4 years were at Regina Mundi. But I'm really glad they took that decision because the high standard of education that Brother Finn and the other Christian brothers imparted to us will live with me and my younger brother for the rest of their lives, and we will always be eternally grateful to them. Brother Finn, for his part, was absolutely astounding. I mean, he taught us in Standard 7. He was our class teacher, but he also taught us French. He took us for sports. He took us for music. He's still got his marvelous voice, which is really, I really feel enamored. Every time I hear his voice and his singing voice, I feel absolutely got this man. He's absolutely hasn't lost anything. Although he's going to be 90 shortly, but he's absolutely delightful. He's majestic. He's absolutely, scintillating. I could listen to his voice for hours on end. And, even with sports, we didn't have, as Sunny said, we didn't have a playground. So the bungalows were coming up at Miraton Gardens, and in between there were little paddocks or little open spaces, and we would kick the football around, and Brother Finn would join us. Then there was another little space in the bushes and a little open area, and we used to play cricket, and Brother Finn would join us. And I remember once he really hit the ball for a six right over the compound wall. He was fantastic. But we didn't have a basketball court. I remember Brother Finn taught us chair ball. So we stood on a chair and we would pass the ball, and that was a game of chair ball. He even taught us marbles. We used to play funky knuckle, and we really made our own little entertainment and sports and just enjoyed each other's company and time. And it was like a family atmosphere because a lot of us, we had younger siblings also in the school, and we knew more or less the other families around. Like I lived in the harbor area, and it was quite a distance away because from the harbor to get to Vasco da Gama, and then from Vasco another 5 kilometers to Regina Mundi school. So it was quite a long distance. And I remember transport was one of the biggest considerations. How when my father decided to put us in the school, how would we get to the school? And then Brother Finn, in his own nice little way, he organized Mervyn's dad, Jim Rosario, to take us from the harbor
Don't go ahead
area.
of the story. That's for Mervyn to tell. But please carry on.
Oh,
Carry on. Carry on.
No,
Carry
no,
on.
no.
Yes.
Rosie, continue. No.
yeah, no.
Okay.
But that memory will always live with me because the white shining car with the red seats and the unique number plate KKK 420 still stands out in my mind. I'll never forget those days.
KKK
But,
from which
yeah.
part? From which part of the world? KKK.
Kenya.
GBA. Kenya.
Kenya,
Okay.
Nairobi.
Okay. Africa returned.
Yes.
Yeah, so he kept the car absolutely shining and spotless. And we as little young fellows, even if we dropped a little crumb or little thing on the thing, he would clean the seats and polish it. And even I remember when we arrived at the school gate, he would be shining the car and cleaning it and polishing, not a speck of dust inside or outside. The other thing is, of course, arriving at Miraton Garden, because I was used to, St. Xavier's School in Bombay and then St. Teresa School, and to arrive at just a like Miraton Gardens, as the name suggests, it was nothing but a few houses under construction and just paddocks and greenery, bushes and shrubs and a few gardens. And I said, is this a school? I thought to myself, is this a school or is this what have we come up? And then it slowly started to make sense. As Sunny said, our classroom was a dining room for the brothers. And I can, as Sunny mentioned, Francis was the cook. I distinctly remember now, and the smell of the food wafting from the kitchen, and it would make me hungry even well before. But those days we had a full day school, if I remember correctly. We started at 9 and we finished at about 3:30 or 4 o'clock, something like that. So that the lunch time was really the important time, and we could smell the food in the kitchen, and it really made us hungry. But then the other thing, because it was a full day school, full day classes, we looked forward to having our lunch quickly and then going for a game of football or cricket during that 1 hour lunch break. So it was really enjoyable. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I think I'll give Mervyn a chance. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
And Ozzy, you've been a first chief engineer on board the ship, and Dr. Sunny is specializing in
children pediatrics.
Pediatrics.
I'm a pediatrician. Yeah.
And Iqbal is into business.
Yeah, I have a travel agency approved by IATA, and I'm honored that Brother Finn is my regular customer. He takes tickets from me for international travel.
I see.
I'm also approved by the Ministry of External Affairs for overseas employment. Yeah.
And Ozzy has been chief engineer. Sorry, chief engineer.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
No, Ozzy has been a chief engineer. I'm just asking.
Yes, chief engineer. That's right. Yeah. Yes.
And Mervyn, over to you.
Good afternoon. Well, I have lots of stories about Brother Finn, but my memories go back to when my dad went and got me admitted in the school. But the funniest thing is, Dad didn't get me admitted. He got a job for himself to work in the school. And Brother Finn would be able to explain that. We had a beautiful time in Meriton Gardens, as the other lads explained. It was different being educated. We moved from Africa, and that was my first school in Goa. At first, I was quite disappointed because we started studying in somebody's house that's being built, basically. It wasn't even a school. But the environment was beautiful, which there were very few of us, but the Christian brothers who actually interact with us, and Brother Finn taught us how to sing. We had the best choir in Vasco da Gama at one time for the Christmas carol singing. And it was beautiful the way the Christian brothers interacted with us being students. Like the Christian brothers, as Ozzy said, Brother Finn would come and play with them. We had Brother Christopher who would take us with football and things like that. So the interaction with the Christian brothers has been really beautiful. It was a different way that I felt that I was being educated, with the interaction with the teacher and the principal. It was really interesting. And father died a year later, and Brother Finn was very supportive, more of a guardian than anything else, I'll be honest with you. And right up to this day, Brother Finn and the family has a very close relationship, and I thank you, brother, for that. And Brother Finn and I have had some experience, some miraculous experiences able to explain. But I must say, thank you, brother. And sorry, I did speak to other lads in my class, and I said, do you have anything to say? Because I would be speaking about him. And what they did put something together and say, honest, Brother Finn, honest, genuine person, great sense of humor and sharp memory, which makes his accounts of the history of RMS authentic. An unbiased teacher who is very experienced and seen many of his students live up to his mark, loved singing, and in spite of his personal health issue, still makes light of them as his concern for the poor and the needy. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's me.
Brother, who were the...
I'm going to leave.
Sorry.
Get on.
Yeah, sorry.
Can I leave
Mervyn,
so that the other guys get on?
Sure.
So can you knock me out? Nice meeting you, lads.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Thanks, Mervin. If you can just send a message to them on the group saying that they can, one person could join in, then we'll take the others also.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think Frederick, I'll also take your leave,
Yes,
and I'll give maybe Manjit or Jason a chance to
yes,
join in.
yes. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Actually,
thank you. Good night,
before
everyone.
before you go,
Enjoy
So,
the rest of the evening.
before you go,
Ozzy, we will
sorry.
try to listen, and we'll be describing some more things, some more incidents which will refresh your memory.
Ozzy has an
Yes.
early day tomorrow, but he can always hear the recording online, so that's not
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
But Brother Finn wants to say something to Ozzy before he
You know,
goes.
just saying that Aussie, we were class 7, and we entered for all the competitions in the city, organized by the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and that. So every year, just not once, every year, Aussie won the declamation. He had speeches by Kennedy and by others addressing the Irish Parliament. And every year from class 7 on, Aussie stood first.
Wow, great.
Yeah. And
And brother remembers it till this day.
Yes.
oh,
Wow.
indeed, yes.
What a
Yeah.
memory, brother. You're absolutely amazing. Even I had forgotten some of that, but now you
Yeah, yeah.
really
Oh, yeah.
revived my memory. But I distinctly remember the carol singing where you really coached us, and we won the trophy, and we beat St. Teresa's and all the other St.
Oh,
Andrews, and that was
every
really,
every year after that also.
oh,
Not,
fantastic.
yeah.
They had remember they had Jerry Rodriguez coaching them.
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
Oh, there was a kind of a friendly enmity
Competition.
between Jerry and myself. Jerry was a big, loud man, and he didn't like being beaten. He didn't like, getting second place at all. However, it's all friendly. But when you think that the kids that we had singing carols were 6 and
yes,
7 and 8 years of age, and our guitarist, Dr. Merson, he was about 12.
yes.
Remember, um, Carmelino, Carmelino
Carmelino,
Machado,
yes,
he did the
Machado.
accompaniment. Yeah, and he's only a kid himself. So there were good days. There were good days.
yes, yes.
Frederick, if you could add on, I just would like about Brother
Sorry,
Finn.
also, the first batch for the SSC, Aussie was first. Sonny, it's on the board. It's on the
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
The second year, Iqbal was first on the board of the class, of the batch.
So about time, brother.
About time. I kept after them until they did it. Yeah. I said,
Fred- yeah.
I had an ex-pupil here, and he said he felt he wasn't part of the school because his batch wasn't mentioned. That was Sonny. And all those forgets. And remember Sajan. Mike Harris came. Mike Harris came every day. He was when he went home by car.
Yeah,
Sajan
yeah.
would come. Mike Harris came.
And his solid ambassador made in Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were good days. Good days.
Frederick, Brother Finn,
Okay.
just to tell you about the concern which he has for his students. I was in standard 8 and I was suddenly ill, very fatal, serious heart problems, and you will know better as a doctor. It was pericardial effusion, inflammation of the heart. The pericarditis was inflamed, and I had to shift it to Bombay. Not airlifted because air pockets could give more risk to the heart. So I was on the steamer, and I was in hospital, Bombay hospital for 1 month. And then I wrote a letter to Brother Finn. I'm missing my school. I'm missing my teachers. And won't believe, toward the end of the month, Brother Finn was standing in front of me in the hospital bed,
Oh gosh.
all the way to Bombay to see his students he had written a letter to him because no telephone or communication. And he was there, sat with me for half an hour beside my bed. And my mother told Brother Finn he's worried that he'll miss a year because doctor had told me to take full bed rest. Brother Finn assured me, don't worry, Iqbal, we'll pass you without a final exam. And I was promoted to standard 9. This is the concern which Brother Phil has for his students, coming all the way to Bombay to meet the student. And one more thing, I'd just like to short up in brief. The best asset or what I got from Regina Mundi learned is to be a public speaker. I'm a public speaker. I speak for interreligious faith meets. I've attended the Old Goa Nominos along with the Archbishop. The St. Andrew's Midnight Mass, I've addressed a gathering of about 5,000 people. And all this I give credit to the Regina Mundi School and the Irish Brothers. But believe me, first time when I went for the stage to give a talk, I went with all confidence. Good morning, my dear teachers, friends, and all that. And for a moment, I was dumb. I was literally shivering in my pants. But the Regina Mundi School gave us the exposure because we were a small family. The total strength of the school first year was 47, and then we grew up. In the first year, we were 9 of us in our class, and we had all the communities: the Christians, the Hindus. I was a Muslim, and we had a sixth student also. Arunjit is said that he's not with us today.
Manjit will be coming soon. Sorry,
Yes,
not yeah.
we talk to him. So this is what it was, the exposure which we got in Regina Mundi, which I don't think I would have got in any other school. Thanks a lot, Brother Finn. Namaste and salutations to you.
Thank you. Salam alaikum.
Thank you, brother.
While we go to the next, Mervyn and Ozzy, do you mind if I just remove you all because
Yes,
so that someone
yeah,
else
I'll take care.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I'll
Thanks so
just
much.
listen.
Oh,
Thank you.
goodbye. God
Thank
bless.
you.
Bye.
God
Thank
bless.
you. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
think-
brother, sorry,
Yeah.
brother, who are the others in the early stages whom we need to remember and whose contribution played a big role in creating the school?
The Arujo brothers from Chicalim, Fernand and Rui, because there had been a big row in the comunidad over an issue that came up, and it was like this: some of the comunidad members were in favor, some were against, and some were neutral. So every evening, Fernand didn't drive, Rui drove the car, and we went around the whole area and met the go cars, those who had a share in the zones here in Chicalim, to explain to them that the school was starting, that had been a row, but that I was no part of it. That was something that happened without my knowledge or anything else, and to assure them that everything would be looked after properly and above board. Now, the conversations were in Portuguese for the most part, because at that time there wasn't much English spoken. And these old houses, it was a history of the times, really, because at that time, many of children, I mean adults, were abroad working, and the parents would be at home in these haciendas. And you couldn't get very many servants, you couldn't afford them, and sometimes these houses were in bad repair. But I used to go to this formula every night, every evening after school. I'd go off with the two of them, and we go and we sit, and they opened up the room, which probably was never opened except on very rare occasions, and tried to convince the people that we were legitimate. And it was quite an experience. So they were very, very helpful. And actually, even after that, when Mr. Mascarenas put up a building, a Kutcha building, really, but it served the purpose. I said there were 47 on the first day, and on the Friday, we had 74. In a week, it turned around, complete turnaround. You had people who came. There was an extraordinary fellow called Borchet, who was actually German. And I think he'd been banned from Europe, and he was working dig wells for Zwari. And he came to help me look for water on the land. Mr. Lohia, who was an expert on engineering, Mr. Jacob, who was the son of the managing director, he came. You had a man called Gopal of SAG Engineering, and he came along and he fixed up all the wiring when he came over here. And Carlos Noronha from Suari lent me a pump, which was a submersible pump, and I burnt it out. I didn't know anything about pumps or electricity, anything. But there were so many people like that who seemed to come out of the woodwork. people whom I haven't met since. I'm sure some of them are dead. But the number of people who came along to help like that and give their expertise, I think they found me a lot of fun. And the fact that I was a foreigner who knew nothing, I think they took pity on me.
Something about the Irish who can get on well, seem to be able to get on very well with with Goans and things like that. I
Well,
don't
that's
know.
what they say. They say the Irish are the Goans of the East and the Goans are the Irish of the West.
Or the other way around.
The other way around, sorry.
Okay, okay,
The
okay.
other way around, yeah.
Brother, and in terms of the early brothers who came and contributed to the institution?
Yeah, the first two were Lenny Lobo and Carmen Arona. Both of them young lads of 17, 18, just finished their novitiate. Brother Lobo came from quite a renowned family. His father was the joint director of the Information Bureau, top cop in India, personally responsible for Mrs. Gandhi's safety for 7 years. And his brother, John, the policeman's brother, Bishop of Belgaum, his brother, another brother, Tony, was quite a big architect working out of Bombay. And the next one was a commander in the Navy. The other man, Carmen Arona, his people would have come from Saligaon originally. Lenny Lobo's people came from Sioli. And thank God they were there because they spoke Konkani. And even though they were very young, they mucked in and did everything. Sometimes you couldn't get a cook. They did it between them. And it was a very tough life, actually, when you think of it. But we had great fun. So we had a Primus stove, and Captain Quinn came in on a boat, flying under a flag of convenience, and donated to us a gross of noodles packets and a whole lot of tinned food. So for our evening, we put 3 packets into water, noodles, boiled them, filled it up well with water, put in all the spices then, and poured off 3 cups of soup. That was our first dish, cup of soup from the noodles. And then when the noodles came out, we'd open a tin and we'd put some of that in with the noodles, and that was our dinner.
Amazing
Yeah.
memories.
So both of them became principals. Both of them are on the council, actually, of the congregation in India, and both of them are principals of St. Columba's. After they got a good training, a baptism of fire, and very committed to what they were doing. Brother Carmo eventually left, actually, and married and has 2 children, but he is doing a lot of work up in Meghalaya with an NGO which he founded for the upliftment of the people there, farmers and others. He went into things like vermiculture and a whole lot of other things, and a place for the deaf.
Brother, one of the interesting links in your story was about Noel Lima Letao, who passed away, and
Yes,
how he, as a student, mentioned and built the link between Goa and the Christian Brothers. Could
that's
you
right.
tell us
Yeah,
a bit about that?
yeah. Well, his mother, Urminda Lima Litao, MLA, used to write to the 2 boys in Nainital where they were boarding, and it came up at one stage. The presentation sisters were invited for the plot of land to come and open a school in 1957. They came in 1958 and they didn't get the land, and they had to live. So where they were staying, they had a little school there. Some of the local people, teachers, worked voluntarily. And as numbers grew, they built something across the road, which was taken over by the Vasco footballers. And then that became too small. So they eventually bought a plot of land on Mongor Hill where they put up St. Teresa's. Now, they still hadn't got the land by 69. They had come in 58. So they told the Comunidad people in Chicali they were no longer interested in in acquiring this plot. So Mrs. Lima Letao wrote to her sons and said that the sisters are not coming to Chicali. And he told his mother that one of the brothers had told him, and he told Brother Burke, that the brothers were interested in coming to Goa. So she approached the Comunidad and had Mr. J.J. Rodriguez write off an invitation to us in 1969 to come and open a school. As I said, things soured a bit along the way, and unfortunately, Mrs. Lima Letao and Tony Mascarenas were not members of the Chicali Comunidad. So they had a meeting and they were told to leave. And that created bad blood. But anyway, I came and I said I had an option whether to go back or stay where I was. My provincial wanted to know what should I do. I said the gospel is clear. It says if you come to some place and they don't accept you, brush the dust from your feet and depart. So I said, I will make this acquiring the land in Chicali as a sign that God wants us here. So on the 22nd of December, 1971, so many months after I arrived, and having gone to so many offices, met people, I signed for the land on the bonnet of Rui Costa Rouge's car on the airport road. So then the following month, 16th of January, we had the blessing of the foundation stone on the site, presided over by, we had our Superior General and Archbishop Francis Xavier Rebello, a very good friend. It was his last public appearance.
Wow, what memories and what links in the chain. Now, if something had to snap, history would have
Yeah,
been different. History would have been different.
extraordinary. I see the hand of God in so many things.
And
know.
what was the toughest thing that you encountered while setting up Regina Mundi?
Well, I suppose one would say the uncertainty, having to make all the decisions myself because headquarters in Calcutta and I couldn't contact them. So having to make these decisions, and there were a number of people encouraging me, but you had a lot of very practical people who said, look, you'll never get the land. Actually, there are other people interested in that land, and I saw blueprints belonging to it, won't mention any names, where they were developing holiday homes and that. So it would almost appear that religious orders were invited, so nothing was done with the land. You know, if anybody came and suggested something, oh no, the brothers are coming, the sisters are coming, as has happened on the other half of this property. Over on the other side, there's an equal amount of property, and the St. Joseph's Sisters of the Poor were to come there. They came, they buried statues, they put up medals and buried things. They never came.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
So by
sorry.
coming and calling the school Regina Mundi across the road, and the monument of Regina Mundi being here, I was putting my foot in the door. And thank God it worked out right.
And thank God for your persistence.
Stubborn. I'm stubborn.
Dr. Sunny, what were your memories as a school kid growing up? Maybe your naughtiest times in Regina Mundi?
Yeah. So many things. As Brother Finn was speaking, it was playing in the back of my mind. Now, Ozzy was mentioning, we had a playground there in Meriton Gardens. So during lunchtime, we used to go and play, and after lunch, we had to get back. So the time was always insufficient to finish our games. So I remember cricket, Ozzy was mentioning. So we used to come back, and then there was a whack waiting for us, because if we come back, the next class was Brother Finn's class. So he made good use of the cricket stumps, So we used to made us touch out to.
Go away. Your
So
imagination.
yeah, no. It was there, Brother Finn. And talking of Brother Finn, I remember now. Brother Finn, I think if my memory serves me right, comes from Cork in Ireland.
That's
And
right.
and he was. So there was something about nightmare, and there was an incident. So he was trying to describe to me that even those days, I don't know if you still get it now, brother. Your neck getting caught in that fishing when you put you don't get that anymore.
Cured.
It's cured. So he explained to us, about nightmare, that Brother Finn got his neck entangled in between the steps of a fishing. The ladder to go down.
I understand. It was the fire escape. Two metal steps. I put my head in sideways, and then I straightened, and I couldn't pull it out. I hadn't. I was too small.
Yeah.
And until somebody came and turned my head and got me out, extricated me.
Yeah. So you used to get
Frederick,
nightmares with that.
ready to join?
Yeah. Colonel, you are in, but just give us a little minute or two while Dr. Sunny just finishes his point. Then we need your camera to.
No. I think Colonel should come in because the next incident involves the Colonel actually.
Okay.
So Colonel is in. He can hear you, but we can't see him. We can just see his.
Okay. Anyways, we were mentioning the dining table and the room there. So after Brother Finn, I think Brother Finn went over for some time. I think Brother Finn, you went to Basin. Was that right?
No, I did, but that was in '74. By that time, we had come over to the new school.
Okay, and Brother Morrow, no, this is when Brother Morrow had come in. Brother Morrow was there for a brief period of time. So
small time, yeah.
Yeah, so let me tell you one thing. Aussie is, I think, no longer. The Aussie is a left-hander. Okay, so we were not used to so many left-handers, and to my knowledge, I was not very, very proficient at detecting left-handers. So we had something naughty in class, and we were 6 of us. So everybody burst. So Manjeet made me laugh, and so we were, and it's not like a full-fledged classroom. You're sitting in in a dining table, and you have your principal, you have your class teacher sitting. It's not Brother Finn, it's Brother Morrow. I think Brother Finn had gone out of the state for some time. It's a couple of months he was not there. So Brother Morrow was the acting class teacher / principal.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
We can. You're fine. You're fine,
Yeah.
Colonel, but we can't see you. We are just your camera is pointed to something else.
Yeah.
But if you can point it to yourself, then we will see you also. We can hear you. You're fine.
Yeah. So we were coming from Christian Brothers schools. English was top priority. So we had to write this essay, and Colonel Saab wrote a fantastic essay which made great reading, and all of us burst out laughing. So I was sitting because of my son. I used to be the biggest guy in class, so I used to be sitting exactly opposite Brother Morrow, and he caught me laughing because all the other guys could hide their thing, and Brother Morrow was a very, very, very short-tempered sort of person. So when we all burst out laughing, he just got up. So I was wondering for what, and then he came beside me and said, "Remove." So I used to wear glasses even then. So remove your glasses. So then, when he said remove your glasses, I knew there's something serious action going to be there. But I never expected left hand. I still remember that. I think that's one of the few times I got slapped. It was such a slap. I saw stars and things like that. So I remember. So this colonel got me in trouble that afternoon.
Very sorry, Sunny.
Good evening.
So you can apologize 50 years later, Colonel.
Yeah.
No, not till he related it. Okay. Can I join it?
Yeah. Please, you're live. Carry on.
Okay. Good evening, respected Brother Finn.
Good evening, Manjeet.
And all the alumni members. At the very outset, I'm grateful to all of you that we are able to join in on this chat, especially Frederick. Frederick, I've been following you on the Navin Times, and it's because of your articles that I take the Navin Times in addition to the Times of India. So cheers to that.
Thank you.
Okay, down memory lane. It was probably the 10th of June 1971 when my father, a naval commander, bundled us into his naval jeep and took us down the airport road on that bumpy track leading to Meriton Gardens. Now, we were kids coming from St. Xavier's, big city environs, huge auditoriums, and we saw this hamlet of, a dozen bungalows. And we said, this is going to be our school. We refused to get out of the Jeep. Brother Finn doesn't know this. And our father tried to coax us out, and we wouldn't get out. Then we heard Brother Finn's voice. He said, "Morning, Commander," or something like that. And we said, "Who is this?" Now stood Brother Finn from that, his the bungalow that they were, which was going to be our classroom later. And we saw this dynamic young brother of ours, the principal, striding in that white cassock, and all doubts were over. We just bundled out of the car and went and joined school. That's the first memory of our wonderful, wonderful school.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And which city, St. Xavier's, where Bombay or Calcutta? Or?
We're from St. Xavier's, Bombay. I belong to the 1975 batch there. I'm in touch with them now. And so that was the first impression. A few days later, we were playing cricket in the cricket ground. And Pradeep Pawar, I think, was the kind of de facto cricket captain, Sunny, kind of after you took over. And now we had no wickets. We were playing with bricks. And that's the first time we brought wickets to school. And, that was a milestone itself. Bamboo wickets, all of us playing out there. These are some memories, which nothing can replace. Nothing ever can replace. As we went along, Sunny and Osman may have covered, Brothers' dining room was our first classroom. Am I right, Sunny? The classroom was first. And then for lunch, we would have to take off our bags and put it nicely on the side, rub the blackboard properly. And that's how we went out for lunch. Fantastic memories, Frederick. Next, I remember another great event was the first treasure hunt that we had, courtesy Brother Lobo. The younger brothers, Brother Lobo and Brother Noronha, were Brother Finn was involved in all the administrative, the principal activities. Brother Noronha and Brother Lobo interacted with us a lot. And that was the first treasure hunt. We went around and he had one site which was next to the haunted chapel. Most of us didn't want to go near that chapel. But we managed. I think with me was Rui. Rui was from Nairobi. So he was more into treasure hunts and stuff like that. So we said, no, Manjit, the arrow's leading there. And that's how we got the next clue. And I don't know whether it was our class with one, but that's that. Down memory lane again. Brother, do you remember the first picnic to Hansa Beach in our Carrera and all of us going down the way and the naval pauser and we went down to INS Hansa? Sunny, you remember that?
Yeah. That beach is Holland. That beach is called Holland Beach.
No, Sunny.
No,
the one
we went to Hansa.
Hansa,
okay.
Beach.
Because
Sunny,
there's a very interesting story about that.
Yes, brother.
We were to go on Tuesday, and for some reason unknown to me, the hand of God, I said, we'll go on Monday. Now, at that time, you had a lot of grass growing around. It was a very small airport in those days. So the Carrera came across through the grass, over the runway, and down to the beach. I came in the Baby Morris, and for some reason, I had to go back. So I came up through the grass onto the runway, and across the way from me, you had a man with two bats, red and green. Now, I thought that he put up the green one. So I pushed out onto the airway, onto the airstrip. And as I got out, a Delta Wing airplane was coming down towards me along the runway. So I turned immediately and we passed each other on the runway.
Dear Lord.
And then Jagmohan Singh, you may remember him. Jagmohan was in charge of the airport security. he came with a tender and fire engines and all that. And all he said to me is, brother, he says to me, I said, okay, Jagmohan, don't blame the Black Batman, blame me. Now, that was Monday. Next day, Tuesday, on my way to school, as you remember, the Navy officers, young fellows, you stay in town. And this man whom I knew, a man Chopra from Delhi, a young pilot, we passed each other on the airport road. I in the baby Morris, and he on his bike, and waved at each other. An hour and a half later, down the same airstrip in the same plane as he was coming down, it must have been on automatic. The plane overturned and he was killed. Now, I is dread to think if that happened when I was there, people would say I distracted the pilot or something like that. So that was Hansel's picnic.
Wow.
Those are Seahawks, right, Manjit?
Yeah, they were that time.
No.
Yes, Seahawk.
The Seahawk was different. You had this is a Delta wing. Seahawks weren't Delta wing.
Okay, maybe, brother, maybe.
Yeah.
Probably you mean to say with the twin tail, the vampire?
I know what it was, shaped in the charge of a Delta.
Oh, it may have been the trainer aircraft, HF-24 at that time. Yes, brother.
It was the only one they had.
Yes.
And
the only
the
trainer we had. Yes.
And the Seahawks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about
the Harriers. Harriers came later.
Brother,
later.
Tell us about the shape of the building since we are on the point. The school building?
This one or that one?
Regina Mundi.
At the moment?
The one you all built. You were describing it somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't know enough of the geography, but you gave us this very interesting story about the school building and its shape.
Yeah, the actual, if you've been up to that area, there was a monument there, 42 feet high, with a statue of Our Lady on top of it, and a circle around with 4 altars placed opposite each other. And I wanted the buildings to be built in such a way, since we had plenty land, to have them tapering like an arrow pointing at the monument. So if you saw it from the air, it was the monument, and the 2 buildings, there were a number of classrooms on either side pointing towards it. And after every 2 classrooms, it was indented. You came in. So it was only a 2-stream school. You had 2A, 2B, 3A, 3A. So it was indented, and it gave a much bigger cover as of a veranda from the sun and from the rain.
Yeah,
and may I add, brother, you even gave us permission to skate on those corridors. You could skate on these corridors with magnificent.
Yeah.
Lovely. You get a brother down there.
Yeah, you're cracking up a bit, Manjit.
Okay. Frederick, am I okay now?
Yeah. Now you're better. Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of the distance might help. There's a comment from Deepak Mehta who says, I hope this is being recorded. It should be documented. This is priceless anecdotage. So yeah, sure, Deepak, we are doing that, and it will be on YouTube soon also.
Frederick, about the corridor, what one wanted, Sunny, have you covered? That was our first classroom in 9th and 10th standard.
Yeah. But I remember something else of the new building block coming up. So if you remember, we had work experience as a subject. So
everyone laughs at the
So I think Brother Finn will laugh at it, because this work experience was a big sham, because we were made to dig. Our work experience period was used to dig.
Work experience it was a subject. It was a subject.
And Frederick, what used to happen is we were 6 of us, and we were given this job. During this work experience time, to dig holes to plant. I remember jacaranda trees. Jacaranda trees were brought in, and the trees you see in the perimeter are planted by the students work done, most of them work done during the work experience times. And there's a funny thing that happened. So my lunch used to come from home, and I probably the only student used to get his lunch in an ambulance. So my father being a political person, so we had an ambulance. His organization had an ambulance. So my lunch used to come with a siren on. The ambulance used to bring the lunch there in in two big containers. So when this lunch used to come, and there used to be a person who used to get this lunch in the ambulance. So he goes back to my father and tells him, "Sir, it's all a waste of time. You're sending. You think you're sending your children to a very decent school. All what they do is they dig and they do manual work in school. Whenever we go there, we see these guys, because it was just before the lunchtime that you got work experience. So that is what used to happen. And by then, by 9th and 10th, we had Brother Slattery. We can't forget Brother Slattery. He was a retired brother who I remember he had to eat very frequently, because he had only part of his stomach, because they had done a surgery, and so he had to eat very frequently. So he used to carry little bits of food with him, and he used to be behind me, because he said you should lose your flab, and used to encourage me to go for the short putt. So Brother Slattery one day said, "I want to see what you guys are eating," because my lunch used to come in 2 tiffin boxes, and the typical Keralite lunch with all rice and curry and everything, so all stacked in. And so it was an experience. So this, if you see the trees in the perimeter, so when I went to the school, I was looking at those trees and said, "Oh, these are the trees we planted, Manjeet. We all of us, Jerson, we all dug holes, and those trees were there." So I hope you remember this, Manjeet.
Even the batches behind us, Kamalin and all of us, we all had.
That's why Brother Finn laughed.
And on Brother Slattery, he was so punctual. His watch, 5 o'clock, and you could see Brother Slattery on that airport road. You could time your watch, 5 o'clock, dot, he'd be opposite the naval colony, down to the naval gate and back. Despite being in, having half a stomach, as Sunny brought out, he would take that walk, and you could match your watches. He was so meticulous. Fantastic times. We learned great stuff here. About the school, if one is permitted to say, you see, the school assembly started around the monument. We would wait for all the buses, the careers, everything would go back, and then Brother would have our assembly, and would always be followed by the Our Father. Now, there's an interesting story I'd like to say. Now, after I left school, 1980, I joined the army. Now, we went to the unit Mandir. I was in a combat unit, 300, 400 men, and we were singing our daily prayer. The Panditji came across, like a young officer, and gave me the big lamp, the Aarti lamp. And he thought I knew the Aarti. He didn't know that I didn't know anything. So here in the annals of our unit is a young second lieutenant, Manjeet Singh, carrying an Aarti, singing, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." And after some time, one voice comes and says, "Ye to Aarti galat hai." The second in command was Colonel Ajay Singh Bulia, 6'3". He says, "Sab, Aarti hoti hai, kisi bhi bhasha mein ho." And we finished with our Father Day. This is probably one of the most, iconic thing that one can remember about school, despite and the other things that had built our confidence. What Brother remembers and what we all remember was, it wasn't just class learning. We got our life learning. We learned to deal with each other. I was a small guy. Sunny was 6 feet. He was this height right then in the 7th standard. Sunny, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe
I stopped going after that.
Manjeet is talking about the Our Father. He also knew the Hail Mary. Because if 2 classes, 5 aside, were playing, Manjeet collected the 6 of them in behind the bush and said the Hail Mary with them before the match.
Yes, Brother. I would also say that every night before I sleep, I do my Hail Marys. Like Brother says, he has a Catholic soul. We came to this land in 1962, left in 67, came back in 71, never left after that. So, there's something about Goa which remains in us. I am married to a lady from Goa now, and my daughter is a Catholic, my sons are Sikh. I think that's the way forward in this beautiful land, without saying too much on, whatever's on the outside. And it all came from school. See, if you didn't pick up all this in school under brothers, imagine Don Sir was our Hindi teacher, and he expected me to speak good Hindi. Now, he didn't know that the Punjabi vernacular and the Hindi vernacular are two things. Manjeet, here, disgrace to the unit. He don't speak a Hindi. Sunny, you remember? So these are some fond memories of school with brother, and we just hope school carries on. They're great stars. Sunny dots the global horizon. I'm probably been all over India, and we have many in Goa who are fantastic, who are offering great help in all the activities of the school, especially the alumni team now, Shiki, Glenn, Brian, and with brothers backing, Sunny's backing, others, we're now going in for a Golden Jubilee souvenir, a book, and I'm already receiving a lot of support, brother.
We are just to say that we are missing two of our persons who are supposed to be on this panel, Jerson and Prakash, at least two, if not someone more. There seems to be some problem in logging in because there are some restrictions on the number of people who can log in here. But we have slots and they could have joined, but I think maybe they're having some problem.
We'll continue.
Yes,
there is another brother I want to mention who was a class teacher.
Just doctor, one sec. I just want to tell them that if they are having a problem to log in, maybe they close that tab and open another tab.
They have to rejoin.
But please carry on, doctor. Carry on.
Yeah. So this is the mention of Brother Hayes, who was our principal and class teacher during our final year in the school, and I think his memory also, along with Brother Finn's, his memory also remains real and lifelike for me. Again, I remember Brother Hayes as a golf playing brother. So he used to go to the Hansa grounds, and for us those days, golf was a big fascination. We didn't know what was happening, and for us it was fascinating in two things: one, golf, and second, the way he used to smoke. Brother Hayes. So we used to think, here's a man of God, or so-called man of God, and smoking and everything. So he was bindas. Brother Hayes was a bindas, and he was a no-nonsense person. But he taught us during our final, I think in the final class, ninth and I think 10th. He was our class teacher. Brother Finn wasn't around, I think, when we were in SSC. Am I right, brother? Yeah.
Right.
And brother, I just want to rejig your memory. It just came up in my mind. I was going through some of my old photographs at home in Kerala, and I find a photo of mine with Mother Teresa. You remember Mother Teresa, a good friend of yours, and now Saint Teresa. So why don't you tell us something about your experience with her? Because I took her around for 3 days because my dad had given the car, if you remember. So I had a lot of photos with her. Then I was just wondering, why did I do that? Then I remember that you entrusted me to take her around in the car, and I was with her for 3 days, if you remember. So she had come down to visit us in Goa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I met Mother Teresa in Calcutta, and we're very good friends. Where she was very simple. At all these religious meetings, we kind of got together. We were always there. She said she didn't believe very much in talking. She preferred to be doing. At the end of her life, it was a kind of a complete bouleversement. She'd speak to anybody for hours at the end of her life, but in the beginning, no. And we were down in Bangalore at a meeting, and she came and asked me would I come and help. There were some, they were opening a house. It was actually the outhouse of a bigger one, and the sisters were given that to work from there. So she asked me, would I come and bring a few friends to help bring in furniture and things like that, which I did. Anyway, amongst them, there was an English priest, a Middle Father. I think he came from Kashmir. He was at this meeting also. So to go back to Dharmaram where I was staying, Mother Teresa came with me and this priest. And at one stage, Mother Teresa said, brother, I will go now. I said, oh, can we stop and let her out? And the priest turned to me and said, are you an Australian? I said, no. I said, I'm Irish. He said, aren't you Brother Andrew? Brother Andrew Trevor Ball was a Jesuit priest who left the Jesuits to start the Brothers of Charity. You know, the Sisters of Charity and the Brothers of Charity. He said, so you're not the founder of the Brothers of Charity? I said, no, I'm a Christian brother. Oh, he says, thanks be to God. I thought I was in the car with two saints.
Yeah. Some of the memories of our school, Frederick, if you allow me, I would also like to speak of, how we came to Regina Mundi. It was all because Mrs. Nazare was our teacher in the first stint in Goa when we were in St. Teresa's. When St. Teresa's was beyond that petrol pump, the Roy's Auto Boutique. And it was Mrs. Nazare who brought us. No, he said, these three little ones will come to Regina Mundi. And that's how we landed up in your school, brother. Mrs. Nazare also went on to be our history teacher. And I don't know if our class remembers. She was teaching us this lesson of Simon Go Back, the Simon Commission, which had come to India. And for some reason, we were not able to connect with them. So she got up from her chair, held her book with that thing, and yet it was like this: Simon, go back. Simon, go back. Sonny, you probably recollect of these was, since it was outdoor in the I always remember that whenever I hear the Simon Commission and things of that nature. So that was Mrs. Nazare. And what would we say about PT Sir, Vijay Sir?
Yeah, well, Mrs. Nazare was headmistress of the Naval School. No, not the one beside us here, when it was over on the other name, Mungo Hill. And she was terminated, and I grabbed her to come to our place. But she had been headmistress in the Navy School.
Who are the other teachers which you all think about? Whom you all think about?
Oh, so many of them. I think first in my mind would come. I think would be, you already mentioned, don't sir. There were the Coutinho sisters who were there.
That's right.
Yeah. So they were there, and one of them used to teach us geography. The other one was for the junior classes. So they would come from Margaon.
Yeah. So, Pequenina.
Yeah, Pequenina. Yeah.
She taught you geography.
Yeah,
and Malusha was teaching the juniors.
Brother, your memory is amazing in that sense. I mean, like at 30, since the age of 35, I've been forgetting names. And one of these days, I'm going to forget my own name. But yeah,
don't.
And then there was
the other teachers.
Maria Silva, who's no more, late. I think she was our maths teacher.
Yeah.
And Sunny was our mathematician. That's why he's landed up in the Gulf with all that money and left me to serve in the Indian Armed Forces. But back to Maria, teacher, she wanted all of us, since brother would not allow anybody else to join the class, only 5 of us, she wanted all of us to get more than 130 or 150 in maths. Sunny, I think you got the highest marks. Ozzy was the 11th in the board. And Jerson and me, we were all at 134, 135. I think even Rui scraped through with 130 out of 150. That was Maria.
She was a very good teacher.
Very good teacher. Very.
No size, pint size, short.
Yeah.
Yes,
but full of life. Yeah.
So, brother, it was a boys' school till quite recently in the 90s, when the medium of instructions changed, the number of students and all that. What's the difference between a boys' school and a girls' school? I mean, you also mentioned that you feel that co-ed is the way to go. But what do the boys feel? What do the boys feel, I wonder?
I would have been in favor of co-ed. See, the numbers were so small. Not only did I know the children, but I knew their parents. And actually, I'd call them for meetings even before starting school to get their advice and their expectations, to find out about it, So there were a lot of girls, sisters of the students, who wanted to be in Regina Mundi, even then. I would have had no problem with it, but I mean, there were practical problems. Anyway, we got over that. At one time, they changed the medium that the primary school would have to be Konkani medium, or we wouldn't get a grant. Now, I mean, the brothers paid for the buildings and everything else, and we started the school. The fees were 20 rupees a month for those who could pay, and there were many I didn't charge anything, and some 10 rupees a month. You know, I was conscious. I never liked asking people for money. Anyway, so we managed that okay. The girls, when they came in, of course, in the beginning they were small, down in the junior classes, and they worked their way up until now. There's an equal number of boys and girls, and you have, if you have a prefect, if you're a boy captain, you have a girl. You know, everything goes along parallel, equality. I found that the girls had a great influence on the boys. I mean, they turned them on, and there's a very friendly atmosphere amongst them. We never have any problem really with it, none. And when it comes to plays and things like that, and particularly things like sports, because I never believed in splurging on sports because it's a waste. The way the girls were so inventive in making costumes and things like that. I remember when the World Cup was on, each house, there were 4 houses, each house had a particular country. They adopted it, like France and Spain and so on. And the girls and had the boys to dress up in the costumes of that country. Of course, Portuguese was an easy one, and they have songs and dances and drills from that country. So I felt there was a great influence all around, and very healthy influence. That's what I think. Sorry, Sonny, that I missed out on you and took you away from all the girls in St. Teresa's.
Yeah.
He was the most handsome, the tallest, good-looking, and he was always a gentleman. So.
No. Really, we were very upset, brother, because we were looking forward to being with the girls, in grade 7 and 8. Then here we were, put in this boys' school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a fissure at home. The eldest brother of mine was in the girls' school, St. Teresa's.
That's
and
right.
the rest 3 of us were in your school, brother. And every time he wouldn't want to cut his nails, we'd tell him, hey, you're in a girls' school, So we had all that going on at home too.
Yeah.
Bhupinder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, he was in class 8. He was in class 8, and ours, I started from class 7 down. So I miss Bhupinder.
I think
but I had his son. Yeah,
good. Vivek.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, the next generation. Now there are families here, and I've known them for 4 generations.
Yes, well. 4th? I thought, brother, it was only Prahlad who had come in with the 4th generation, or more. Prahlad. Remember of the Timberman, Padam's batchmate? I'm told he's the grandfather. And his son and his grandson, all from our school. That's or maybe the 4 generations.
Yeah.
I think, brother, we would definitely want to make a mention of Kamalin. Kamalin was junior to us, but he was a talented, we called him Gandhi Boss. He would shout at us, but he was our football captain. He would play music. He had the choir going. Kamalin was one live fire. Giving us the choicest bad words. I learned all my Konkani good stuff from him. And but there he was. And imagine in those times, we never thought of, someone junior in class being a school captain. He was voluntarily, he was so good. He was the school captain, football. That's it. And we played according to what Kamalin said, or we got a whacking of our life. He would shout the hell out of us. And he was asthmatic, remember?
And even then he was asthmatic.
Yeah. You know what I remember about Kamalin is he used to sing also quite well. So there was a song popular those days, Yellow River, right? So he used to say,
Hello River, Hello River,
Yellow
Hello
River.
River.
He used to say Yellow River, and Brother Finn say it's not Yellow River, it's Yellow River.
Hello River. Yeah. But I think afterwards, his wife was telling me.
Amongst our batchmates, I don't know who all have been mentioned, but Sunny, me,
And we got them to sing. He made them all put their 3 fingers to open their mouths. He said, Brother Finn made me do that. That's it to sing, and you're going to do the same.
So it didn't help him, but it helped his kids.
Oh, it helped him and helped his kids as well. All of them.
Colonel,
kept that.
all your classmates were mentioned. Brother remembers all of them by name, as if it was yesterday.
No, Puneet is not mentioned.
Puneet was our he was in the 7th standard, and then 8th he left. He was a Punjabi, but Goan. He lived in Chicalim there, and he was as much a part of us. Today also he remains a part of us. We surely miss Puneet. And I don't know, Rui. Rui was our diligent Nairobi soul. He would always.
No, he's from Uganda, not Nairobi. He came from Uganda.
Was it Uganda?
Yeah,
okay.
During the Idi Amin crisis, so they came over.
Yeah. Possible. I learned some of the bad words that we want to cuckoo. All that we learned was from Rui. But what I remembered, he would sweat like crazy, brother. He had to have a blotting paper, and he had this beautiful cursive writing. Diligent Rui was surely, amongst the well-remembered, all of us. There were 6 of us only. Down the line, I don't know, Sunny, do you remember anybody else? I mean, really.
Deepak wants to mention Brother Pinto.
About
Brother Pinto and Brother Christopher.
About Puneet.
Sorry.
50 years ago yesterday. 50 years ago yesterday.
Yesterday.
29 July. I was 25 years in the Brothers. And word got out in Meriden Gardens. And along came Puneet at the assembly and a bunch of flowers. And he said, Brother Finn, on behalf of your silver jubilee, I present you with this bouquet.
Yes.
So Mervin has just joined us. Mervin, welcome back.
You're back. Yes, you're smiling. We see you.
I'm seeing Mervin after 1975.
Yeah.
And now you don't see him. Now you don't see him. His camera's turned off. Mervin, you're on. Your camera's turned off. Yeah.
Oh.
So Mervin had this, this characteristic when playing football. He used to come at you. So we used to call him Mervin the Bulldozer, I don't know.
No, he was very physical. I would just get out of the way. Brother knew I would play the left position, and Kamalin would always say, you work left or right. So I would be playing left in or left out. And wherever Mervin was, I would run halfway. He wouldn't want to hit the ball. He wanted to hit your leg. Where's Mervin now? You should have heard all this.
He's deliberately switching off his camera because he can hide the embarrassment.
Yeah.
He's shouting something. Mervin, what? Okay, you're back. Mervin, you're back.
Yeah.
Yes. Mervin used to get very angry if he was fouled. He would go ballistic. Any foul.
So now we've reached a sports ground, okay? And all your Africa guys with hockey and all, I guess. Right?
Yeah. Somebody said there, mentioned
those grounds you couldn't play football, let alone hockey, because it was all rocky. You fall down, a good amount of your
cut
skin
your legs. Now, somebody said mention S.A. Pinto.
Yeah.
Who came here? He wasn't in Meriden Gardens. He was over here. He became novice master, and rather late in life, he decided to leave the Brothers, and he was working in Pune as a psychologist, and he used to also do it with the big companies, do it with them. Brother Christopher, as you know, died quite recently. He was here. He came in the third year. He and Brother Hanneman.
Hanneman, yeah.
Yeah, he was there for a year. He joined in the third year. He became a member of RAW. He was very high in the police. Yeah,
Oh,
and
I didn't know.
of course, Brother Mulligan was here for so long and well remembered for all the trees that were planted. You had a brother Addy Pinto who was here for a short while. He's now up in Shillong. And Brother Gabriel Thomas, Vinod Thomas, he was here twice. And Tom Pinto, you wouldn't have met him, but he was there also. Well, these are some of the ones who are built up the school when we come across the road.
Very interesting, brother. In terms of the educational system, brother, which you encountered in Goa for a long time, what's your take on it, and how would you suggest it improves?
Well, you see, in those days, in our schools, Christian Brothers schools, they were largely autonomous. We didn't get any government grant, and we didn't have to obey government regulations and limitations. So here, like, it was a carte blanche for me. You could do things like you could fix the hours of your school. There's Jerson back. Yeah. You could fix the hours of school. Of course, you had to have the examination subjects and that. But it was much freer in those days, much freer. We didn't have these limitations. And they didn't mention that Saturday was a free day. They only 5 days a week. All the other schools had 6, 5 days, but they could come for extracurricular subjects if they wanted to, like for music or for playing or going to the beach and all. That was all catered to in those days. Good evening, Jerson.
Good evening, brother. I was actually the first to join in, but then I was bumped off by Frederick. So I said, I sulked for a while and I decided to come back.
Well,
I watched the whole 1 hour, 27 minutes.
Yeah.
In fact, there's so much of memories.
Jerson had one outstanding characteristic.
Festa.
What was that?
We wouldn't see him on a Monday morning.
The 4-day week, huh? The 4-day week.
Where were you? Where you did? Yes, fest. Fathers bring to all the peace in all the villages. So every Monday morning or whatever, we didn't have the pleasure of Jerson's company.
I remember Jerson as our Betalbati Badkar, living in Moscow at that time, coming along with his father, Uncle Valerian, in that lovely green-colored Volkswagen. Sunny remembers the number. But it was Jerson who got us to eat all the Goan delicacies, the sorpotel. I don't know if he remembers, he even got us to get turtle meat. We had turtle meat in those days.
And imagine when we went on the first scout camp to Silidao, where you were defending yourself.
Silidao, on the way to
just straight opposite over the Mandovi. On the first, where we're all to fend for ourselves, put up our tents and doing cooking. Jerson came with a bag full of tin food. You came with a tin food. Your mama gave you 6 tins of food. She knew that you couldn't cook.
But brother,
he was the only boy among girls.
Brother, obviously the sports ground and the camp memories and the late coming days and all are much more juicier to talk about. But focusing on education in Goa, how can we improve it? What would you suggest if you had to say the 3 topmost things that we need to be doing now to improve school education in Goa? What would they be?
Well, you see, the first thing about a school, if you're having a school, the first thing is the spirit. Somebody making noise. The
Justin, sorry, Justin, just a suggestion.
Yeah, I
If
think
you can,
I'm
if
creating
you
the
can
problem, Frederick. I
put
think
it,
I'll mute my.
yeah, just mute yourself. Just mute yourself. It will be okay. When you want to talk,
Yeah,
unmute yourself. No issues.
yeah. The first thing you need in a school is a spirit, and the spirit would involve teachers, pupils, staff, parents, everybody. If you have that and they're working together and have a focus. See, we were blessed in the fact that we belong to a religious order founded by a layman. He wasn't a priest. And he had been a married man whose wife died in childbirth, and his daughter was born handicapped. And at 40, he started a religious order. Now, he had common sense, he had the business sense. He'd been a very successful businessman, and he gave it all. So we take our, how will we put it? We take our cue from him, how we did that no matter where we are, no matter what kind of people we're dealing with, we're always conscious of poor people and those who are deprived, and keep that in mind, and to help as far as we can, you know. So, I mean, I couldn't presume to offer any solutions to the education community today on what you should do and shouldn't do. I know, because as it is, kids are so pressurized, and never so much as in the last year, you know, with everything online and what have you. So the fact is, because I've been in St. Columbus, I came here from St. Columbus in 2009, 12 years ago, and we had 3,750 pupils. Now, 3 big buildings. I visited every classroom every day.
This
I
is
met
in Goa. This is
child.
in Goa. In Goa or in Columbus?
No, it's in Delhi.
Delhi. St. Columbus. Yeah.
Delhi 1.
Yeah.
And I'd meet all the kids at the gate coming in the morning and going out another gate in the evening time. So, like, you establish rapport. And a big thing is to have teachers who are committed. I mean, it's sad that in many places it's money and tuitions that are the attraction. And like from the first day I came in India and saw schools, I heard about these private tuitions. I felt if we could do away with that and spend the time in school teaching, and even let the kids do their homework in school, give them that length of time, and let them live a life outside with their family. I mean, I feel so sorry. Take a place like Delhi, where the kids have to get up at 5 in the morning, travel far, sometimes without breakfast, and then they spend a day in school. They go back home to an empty home, both parents working. They go for tuitions where the homework and the stuff is done by the tuition person to come into school, and it's been regurgitated. The same stuff is being dished out again. They must be bored stiff with it. So if we could have that, and I suppose smaller schools would be a big help. The bigger the school, the more the problems.
Brother, what were the biggest miracle? What was the biggest miracle that you saw happening in your school? Something unexpected. I mean, you like to call it a miracle, I'm sure, but something you didn't expect and suddenly came about.
Well, a whole lot of things happen. Over here on this, when we're building putting the new building down, a problem was water. There's no water. And it was just, as they'll tell you, it was bare rock. And the poor lads when they were for work experience, they had to cut out a cubic meter of rock. Not easy. So we had no water. That was a big thing. And I tried everything. The Navy in the beginning used to send in a tanker of water. But there's a Sikh gentleman there who was very generous. But you couldn't keep that up. So then I tried to get the water from Vade in front of your house, Sonny. Vade, I send Mr. Nair down there, and it belongs to the parish. I don't know, but anyway, they were stopped. So in the end, I went to Mr. Da Costa, Adolf Da Costa, in Assoy here, and when I wanted water, he'd get the neighbors to dam off the river, small stream, and I got the best water possible to build the school. The tank would go down and fill up. Now, that didn't solve our problem here, because for toilets, for drinking, for a whole lot, we needed water. And this Mr. Borchett, a most colorful character, who had the most colorful language, he was a most unusual person. He used drill for Zwari, and he said he would drill for me. But the problem was he had no compressor. So how could he drill without a compressor? I got an estimate from some of those drilling, and it was lakhs of rupees and an abundant supply of water. So your man, Borchett, he went to the Yugoslavs who were dredging Project Even Multinovic, PIM. They were dredging the harbour. And he went out with them and had a session with them, got good and drunk, and made them all drunk, and he came home with a loan of their compressor. So I had brought FX Noronha, a Mangalorean working in Bombay, who was a water diviner. He came down and he went around with his rod, and his hands were twisting. An abundant supply of water here, an abundant supply of water there. And Adolf had come and he was driving rods into the rock to mark the spots. So then I went to Borchett to come and dig or drill in the most favorable place. And he said, there is no water. I know nothing. I am just building 1,000 wells in India. I know nothing. And some bloody Hindu come and he do puja and you listen to him. I said he wasn't a Hindu and he didn't do puja. He said, what you do? You go to the convent and you bring out sister and give her a good drink and you get a connection to her well. I said, they're not allowed out, they're cloistered. Well, break a hole in the wall and bring her out. Huh? So along he brought the drill, and he wouldn't stay. His working fellow was Purushottam, and he drilled, and I was watching, waiting for a gusher every time. He went down 124 feet and hit Dolorite and could go no longer, and we didn't get a spit. So hat in hand, I humbly went to the sisters and I asked them if I could get a connection from their well. So it's a 50-meter head. It's about 290 feet down the slope. And I said, people came along to help me. And Mr. Lohia, we got put on a hostel and pipe, and we got a pump. And the day came when we started pumping the water from the well. And up came the water and into our tank and filled it. A great day. But the next morning, when I went down to Mass in that convent, there were rings of bells all over the place. And one of the sisters were saying, brother, a miracle, a miracle. So I had to go into the parlor. And at that time, there was a grill and a black curtain, so you could see nobody. They could see me, I couldn't see them. They said one of the sisters measured the water the previous day, the day we started pumping. She measured the water from the top down to the water, and next, of course, the well went down. Next morning, she went in again, and the well was 1.5 feet higher. The water was higher in it. That was a miracle. Now, it was a simple explanation. They didn't put a non-return valve on the pipe. So the first half an hour, fill the pipe, 250 pipe of 644 millimeters. They pump the water, and it took half an hour to reach. So when you turned off the pump, that water came back with fresh air. And there were 7 vents coming into the well, and they were full of silica, in this area, and it flushed out all these. And that's why there was more water. So I was laughing and telling people about a miracle, and one wag said, "Brother, you did work a miracle." I said, "What miracle?" He said, "You got 19 women to agree."
Jason, over to you. We've not given you enough time apart from your Festa comment.
Not really, Frederick. In fact, my classmates have spoken a lot, brought back so much of memories. In fact, I was enjoying watching it live on YouTube. Over here, it seems to be echoing. And am I creating a problem with the echo? But,
no, you're not. Now it's not.
Yeah, as there's not much to speak. It's Brother Finn. It's nice to have put this program together. Thanks to Carlos. I don't know why Carlos didn't want to be on time, but there's nothing more that I'd like to add. Very fond memory.
Your uncle was the manager of Cinevasco. Cinevasco,
yeah, my uncle. Yes.
Your uncle.
See, brother is repeating it. Brother is repeating it because he knows that at our age we keep forgetting, but at his age he doesn't.
Anyway, we all got called. The bigger boys got called down to see Ben-Hur or one of these movies. One of the big movies. We all got nice seats, invited free, thanks to Mr. Lobello. And when it came to bloody parts, Manjit would go down behind the seat. He couldn't stand the sight of blood. And his father said to me, "I don't know where I got that boy. He should have been a girl." And he turned out to be a commando.
In
the Indian Army.
Brother, is there an incident when the pump stopped working? And the story
yes. Yes.
Mervyn, you're a bit soft, yeah.
You can hear me?
Brother,
No, Mervyn.
Yes,
Mervyn.
I can hear you. Yes.
Actually, the pump that I got it from Zwari, probably due to Barset, Carlos Noronha Sr. He gave me this huge pump, which is like a time capsule, and put that, but a submersible pump. So one day, Mr. Gopal came to me and said, "The pump isn't working because there's a trip on it." Actually, when the water went below the trip, it stopped working. I didn't know what he was talking about. He says, "I can remove the trip." I said, "Oh, please do, once we get water." And a week later he came and said, "The pump was burned out." And a very expensive foreign pump. And I had to go to Zwari Agrochemicals to go to see Mr. Noronha and to explain to him. Now, he was a management of personnel, but there was another man there who wasn't very happy. He was in charge of maintenance and things like that. So the pump would have come under his jurisdiction. And he was so angry, this pump will have to cost so much. And Mr. Noronha said, No, Brother Finn is an educationist. What does he know about wells and pumps and electricity? He's an educationist. But he had our pump and burned up. Yeah, he said it was hired out to him. No, it was hired out to him. And the man said, for how much? He said, 240 rupees a month. Okay, he says, give me 240 rupees. And
you know
then,
what, brother, I would like to bring Agnel for a bit. I just want to get him into the frame. I'll see if I can get him out of the house. My cousin Agnello, remember him?
of
Yeah,
course. Very good friend.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get
Anyway,
him in. You'll continue.
Yeah, your man went off. He went off and he bought a pump, cost price at a factory, and installed the whole lot. Mr. Gopal, no connection with me. Never saw him again.
Brother, if you had a chance to do things again, what would you do differently?
Nice. You asked me a tough one. Well, I don't know if you know it or not, but I was 18 years in the Brothers in Ireland before coming to India. And in Belfast, I spent 14 and a half of these years in Belfast. And it was a divided city, pogroms and all kinds of ghettos and what have you, a really polarized city. And I was in a very tough school down by the docks. And in some ways, they were the happiest days of my life. The school had been condemned as a building in 1925. And I was in it until 1964, and they closed it the following year. I would not have changed the coming to India. I actually had a cousin who was a pilot, and his birthday and mine coincided, 2nd of November. And he was killed in a crash, and all the passengers, on the 10th of January. And I had it in my mind that when I was 32, I would die around the 10th of January. I mean, it's one of these things, Sonny, you get these things into your mind, as a doctor, something affects you and it hasn't. So I couldn't get this out of my head. And for sometimes it was very limiting. However, on my 32nd birthday, 2nd of November, 1964, I got on a plane to come to India. So my new life started. So my life in Ireland was over at 32 on my 32nd birthday. Coincidence? God knows. Agnello, can we see him?
Yeah, we can see him.
Can we hear him?
I can't hear Agnello.
Jason?
No,
Jason, you're online. Some problem, Jason?
I think both Mervyn and Jason are. Mervyn is live. Yeah, Mervyn is live, but I think Jason
has just dropped off the line, but he'll come back. I'm sure he'll come back.
Yeah.
He's working to get on.
Sorry.
Just a second. Yes, he's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back, Jason.
Homeopathic medicine is a powder.
I just want my cousin to say hello to Brother Finn.
Yeah, I want to say hello.
You're cracking a little bit, Jason, but don't worry, it's okay.
He was always cracked. Fest.
Sorry?
Festa.
Fiesta is not, oops, he's gone off. I think.
No, I know it's 8 o'clock and actually it's dinner time.
For you all, brother? For you all?
Time for me to join the brothers.
Yes, just give us 1 minute because Jason is trying, then we'll wind up. Because Jason, you're online. Quick, brother has to. Hours, which is
just
fine.
To say hello to Agnello.
Hello, Agnello. Hello. How are you?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, my great friend. Yes, indeed, you're a great boy, young man. Huh? Wow, handsome fellow you become. Yes,
Hello, Agnel.
Nice to see you all. Eh?
yes,
Good to see
Nice
you.
to see you all. You too.
Sunny there. And Mervin.
Marvin.
yeah.
Hi.
Mervyn was there. You could tell him
Okay.
about the recent miracle, Mervyn. The last miracle I had with you.
Yeah.
When I went over to Gatwick.
Yeah.
My brother, I had a brother who was suffering from Alzheimer's. He was in Surrey in England. And I went over from Ireland. And normally when I'd go over to England, I'd contract Mervyn. And I was going on a Wednesday, and he said, "Brother, I'm sorry, I have to go for an interview for a new job. And this evening, I'm going off with my prospective son-in-law to the continent for the Grand Prix. Sorry, I can't meet you." So I turned up in Gatwick, and there was nobody there to meet me. And there were a couple of a grandmother and her grandson from South America, and I was on the same trolley as them coming out, and they had a lot of formalities. I had a European passport, no problem. They had. So I was quite late. All the other passengers were probably gone. And we dropped these two off, and we went out towards the exit. He said, "Where would I drop you?" I said, "Near the taxi stand." So he went up in the trolley facing that way. I got off the trolley and turned around, and there was Mervyn coming towards me. No, he didn't know what flight I was on. I had said to him when he was going for his job, make sure they offer you a car, because no matter what the money is, if you were to run a car, it's going to cost you so much more. So the first question he asked him was, is there a car with this job? And they said, no. He said, okay, I'm not interested. And he came away and he drove to the airport, parked the car, came across the road and was walking in as I was walking out, and we met in Gatwick. There's a miracle.
On that note, since it's already 2 hours since it's time for Brother Finn's dinner.
Also, by the way, he had on his sat nav, he had directions to the home where my brother was a patient, and my sister-in-law's phone number. He had everything on his sat nav. So once again, Mervyn saved my life. God bless. Lovely speaking to you all.
Brother,
thank you
so much.
Great idea. God bless you. God bless.
All the very best.
Brother.
Bye.
Yeah,
I will get out.
God bless. The recording of this will be online too. Thank you so much. Thanks. Yep. Bye. I'll end it. Bye.
I put off that. Salams to your wife, Sonny. Salams to your wife.
I will, brother. Yeah.
I remember when I met her in Delhi.
Yeah, we all came to Delhi. That's right.
Yes.
So okay. I will, and hopefully I'll see you in Goa soon once the flights open. I'm just waiting to come over to India, so hopefully I'll come and see you there, brother.
Thank you. God bless. All my love. All my love. You're great lads. You're in my heart. Dil mein.
Dil mein. Aap bhi dil mein hai.
Dil mein.